Hello, Buckhorn students, and welcome to the second presidential debate. My name is Abby Morgan, and I'll be your moderator. Today, we will focus on the economic issues. Let's get to our first question. Does lowering the federal corporate income tax rate create jobs? Starting with Donald Trump.
Mr. Trump has a very effective tax plan for this country. In short, Trump's policies will reduce taxes across the board, especially for working and middle-income Americans, ensure the rich pay their fair share, but no one will pay so much that it destroys or undermines our ability, eliminate special interest loopholes, which will make our business tax rate more competitive, keeping jobs in America, and finally, reduce the cost of child care by allowing families to fully deduct the average cost of child care from their taxes. Some of the details to his plan include tax rates. Mr. Trump will collapse the current 7 tax brackets to 3 brackets. Low-income Americans will have an effective income tax rate of 0. Brackets and rates for married joint fillers are less than $75,000 is 12%, $75,000 through $225,000 is 25%, and more than $225,000 is 33%. For business taxes, the Trump plan will lower the business tax rate from 35% to 15% and eliminate the corporate alternative minimum tax. For deductions, the Trump plan will increase the standard deduction for joint fillers to $30,000 from $12,600, and the standard deduction for single fillers will be $15,000. Overall, the Trump plan protects all low-income and middle-income Americans, compared to Secretary Clinton, who plans to increase taxes on selected income groups.
For far too long, tax laws have been used not just as a means to collect needed revenues, but as a way for special interests to penalize their competitors while subsidizing themselves. The result is a tax code that is more than 70,000 pages long, enforced by a government agency with almost 100,000 employees. As a result, our tax code has created a nightmare for the average American while providing shelter for those with the means to manipulate it. Governor Johnson advocates for the elimination of special interest tax loopholes to get rid of the double taxation on small businesses, and ultimately the replacement of all income and payroll taxes with a single consumption tax that determines your tax burden by how much you spend, not how much you earn. Such a tax would be structured to ensure that no one's tax burden for the purchase of basic family necessities would be increased. To the contrary, costs of necessities would likely decrease with the elimination of taxes already included in the price of virtually everything we buy. Many leading economists have long advocated such a shift in the way we are taxed, and Gary Johnson believes that the time has come to replace our current tax code, which penalizes the savings, productivity, and investments we so desperately need.
Hillary Clinton believes that trickle-down economics, a concept that Donald Trump has proposed, is an outdated economic principle wherein those with money who own businesses get a massive tax cut so as to encourage already wealthy business owners to reinvest in America by moving businesses here. While that may sound as if it would create more jobs, there are 2 major problems. First, it cuts out on the money the government receives for programs such as national defense, U.S. highways, and education. Secondly, one of the fundamental principles of trickle-down economics is that the wealthiest Americans keep the most money. In the past 40 years, every time the wealthy have gotten a tax cut, the general household income and unemployment have stayed the same. Hillary Clinton believes that it is outrageous that the multimillionaires like Donald Trump are allowed to play by a different set of rules than hardworking families. She believes that we need an economy that works for everyone, not just those at the top. Hillary is committed to restoring basic fairness in our tax code and ensuring that the wealthiest Americans and large corporations pay their fair share while providing tax relief for hardworking families.
On to our second question. Is the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, good for America? If not, what would you do to change it?
The Affordable Care Act is beyond change. It needs to be completely repealed. Ironic how it's called affordable, even though Americans have been suffering its economic burden for 6 years now. This being said, Mr. Trump isn't just going to repeal Obamacare. He'll work with Congress to make sure there are a series of reforms ready for implementation that will follow free market principles and that restore economic freedom and certainty to everyone in this great nation. As a result of this, healthcare access will be broadened, it will be more affordable, and the quality of the care will improve. Mr. Trump also promises that while in office, he will ensure that the reforms will get through Congress. This includes, but not limited to, modifying the existing law that inhibits the sale of health insurance across state lines. As long as the planned purchase complies with state requirements, any seller should be able to offer their product in any state. This allows more competition, which means cost will go down and customer satisfaction will go up. Also, he will allow individuals to fully deduct health insurance premium payments from their tax returns. Businesses can, and Mr. Trump believes individuals should be able to as well. Going along with the idea of including everyone, Trump also believes that no one should be left behind. We must review basic options for Medicaid and work with states to make sure that people that want health care can have it. Remove barriers to entry into free markets for drug providers that offer safe, reliable, and cheap products. Congress needs to learn to leave special interests and do what's right for the country. Though pharmacies are in the private sector, drug companies provide a public service. These ideas and more are just a start to lowering healthcare costs, and if this is what we seek, we need a strong leader like Mr. Trump to be fighting for us.
Gary Johnson said that Obamacare is a torpedo in a sinking ship and that the economy is going to collapse as a result. He is opposed to government-mandated health insurance, period. The idea that government can require an individual to buy something simply because that individual exists and breathes in America is an incredible blow to the bedrock principles of freedom and liberty. Government cannot create a system that will reduce costs while increasing access. Only competition and the price transparency that competition will bring can accomplish the imperatives of affordability and availability.
As president, Hillary Clinton will defend and expand the Affordable Care Act and expand the promise of making healthcare an affordable public option. She plans on bringing down out-of-pocket costs like copays and deductibles, as well as prescription drug costs. Hillary Clinton will fight for the lowest income families by incentivizing Medicaid to allow expanded access to rural Americans. Hillary Clinton will defend reproductive health care to ensure that all women have access to safe and legal help. Finally, she will double the funding of primary health care services.
Thank you for those answers, candidates, and thank you, students, for watching. We hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to tune in for our next and third and final debate. Please remember to register to vote this week for our mock election on November 1st. Also, vandalizing the signs of candidates you dislike shows immaturity and lack of respect and proper representation. This reflects poorly on the candidates you do like. Instead, productively support your candidate by making use of your own time instead of wasting others. This has been brought to you by the Buckhorn High School's Historical Society and Debate Team. Thanks again.